let's go to our next speaker. Some of you felt that viscerally. I saw some people around the room. Yeah. All right, let's go to our next speaker. So one of them didn't give us a fun fact, but one of them did. So one person is so interesting, he doesn't want us to say anything. The other person built his first Hadoop cluster on a personal laptop long before cloud made it easy. Please welcome the duo today of Jay and Vic.
Hi, my name is Vic, and
hey, my name is Jay.
Okay, so we're with Microsoft, and thank you for. We're the only ones separating you between lunch, so we'll be exactly those 20 minutes that are on that clock, and hopefully these 20 minutes will be worth it, and you can learn a little bit about what our philosophy is on how we see AI. So both of us work as solution engineers, so we see a lot of use cases come through our funnel. And so what we see as a commonality is there's a lot of things that organizations want to efficientize. There's a lot of lack of visibility and control. There's a lot of human error, and there's a lot of scalability concerns. In particularly AI. So I'll tell you about a use case that I'm working on right now. This state agency has a lot of index cards, thousands of index cards. They want to digitize those. Kind of like that Abigail scenario. These are all handwritten, different places. And at one point, they were trying to get a human to take it out of this cabinet and do one by one, pick these cards, and digitize them and put them in a spreadsheet. What a daunting task that is. So case in point, potential human error, scalability, it's going to take years to have, depending on what size of team. There's not a lot of lack of visibility, and it's just a very long, drawn-out process. And I think LLMs and this technology can make that particular use case a lot more efficient. And this is a use case I'm working on with one of my colleagues right now, and how we've taken LLM and taking exactly that thing that Abigail showed, and how we're kind of making it faster and quicker for them. So Microsoft has this philosophy, we call it the frontier firm. With new tooling, you have a lot of different options, kind of like was demonstrated in the use case I talked about. We think agents and other LLM technologies are the way forward. Just like the song, you have to jump into it, because this is now the time. And you could do really amazing things over the course of the past 2 years that I've been doing it. I've seen more than a dozen use cases, and it has blown my mind. And I think hopefully what you walk away from here today will inspire you to build something great. So this is the different phases of how you become a frontier firm. So first phase might be this assistant or agent may help you doing one-on-one interaction, maybe a code assistant that helps you kind of validate code. And I actually have a friend that works for a larger company, and that's what they're doing. So when code gets checked in, he's a product manager. When they check in code, this assistant, what it does for them is it goes, validates the code, runs the regression tests, and whatnot. So it assists their process. Instead of a human having to do those regression tests, the system kind of does it for them. Next phase will be kind of human interacts with a series of agents to do as a digital colleague. This is becoming a very, very big thing now in organizations. Again, similar to that scenario, you could have a series of agents that work with you hand in glove and do very, very specific tasks. This is becoming a very, very big thing, and is going to, I think, in my opinion, going to really blow up in the next couple of years. And then if you construct these agents in a sequence, you could have an entire workflow that can run across, do my code validation, check in my code, tell me what regression tests were failing, kind of fix those potentially, and then move it from dev to QA. An entire workflow that can kind of be orchestrated the right way can work miracles and save lots and lots of time. So just to backtrack a little bit on what is an agent. So an agent is essentially taking input, whether that be a message, whether that be a direct prompt, a system event, and you'll use a large or small language model that'll have some instructions, rewrite this code, convert this into JSON, and you can use a lot of different tools. So sometimes The tools can be documents, sometimes it could be a database, it could be a variety of different places where you can actually do things. These consist of knowledge. Knowledge can be a database, a series of different things that you could use. And based on those, it does a series of actions. Send this as an email based on a certain condition. And memory, which I think was discussed yesterday, is how it remembers context of what you talked about. When you're having a conversation, it's the flow of that particular conversation. It could be 10 steps till you actually get a proper or correct answer. So that's why memory is very critical, because you need to remember those steps. And then out comes the answer, the output, which results in something that saves you time, hopefully. So this is kind of the evolution of the same. So in the past, okay, you presented it potentially for an LLM with a document, and it will give you a summary. Okay, it does some very specific task. Now, if we fast forward to an agent, you could have a document agent, like in this example, second example, single agent, kind of looking at a complex document and doing some reasoning, and then coming back with an answer. So this is becoming also very, very common. Let's say I have a 10K statement and I want to analyze the company over the course of the last 10Ks that have come out over the past year. You need a right type of agent that can look through these documents, right set of instructions, and then deeply reason on where this company is going, to the example I think you gave yesterday, Princess. And then we get to the multi-agent. You could orchestrate this into a larger workflow. So for example, let's say an HR onboarding process, which is one of the examples we're going to show you today. There's a lot of things. First, they have to be recruited. You have to provide them the right level of information just to get onboarded into the system. Then you have to have them entered into the system for IT. Then they need health insurance and these other 15, 20 other things. We get hired. We don't realize how much work goes into actually getting you onboarded. And this is something that an agent can kind of get, when it's streamlined, can assist you with to go through the entire set or steps of that process. And now if you see, we're bolting on many different things into this process, right? You got the memory, you got the coordinator agent, and then these sub-agents are doing very, very specific tasks for you. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jay, who's going to take you through the rest of this.
Thank you, Vic. So I think we talked about a lot of use case pattern. We talked about the problem space. But if you put all this together, the new frontier that we see, and Vic talked about the frontier from the agentic AI. What is agentic AI? I mean, today, if you think about how these agents interact with each other, and then also consider human in the loop, I think to me, that's where the agentic AI is. Of course, there are nuts and bolts, how you manage this agent, how you deploy this agent at scale, at various workflow, doing different tasks, maybe at department level, maybe at organization level. That's what, in a nutshell, agentic AI is. So you can think of it's a dynamic process, with combination of multiple agents, which can really perform complex tasks, whether it's reasoning, business process, workflow, anything that require complex intelligence and task management. So that's where we define what agentic AI is. So this is basically a breakdown, like reason over a provided business process, retrieve context to complete the process, and then finally perform an action of end user. The example Vic was talking about, HR onboarding. If you think, when an new employee is getting hired, there are not just the HR team, but then the IT team has to work to create his access or the laptop or the badge, or even the training team has to come up with the new training requirement, or maybe give access to employee to what are the training depending on the role. So there is a lot of reasoning, lot of action, and lot of contextualization of the process has to happen. So that is a very good example what agentic AI in a nutshell could be, right? And it can be applied to any organization at any size, at any scale. So this is just a quick example, again, going back to what Vic talked about. Like, if you think about a traditional RPA, this is where we were, yesterday, meaning a few years back. We used to, try to use RPA kind of a technology to complete repetitive tasks. But then, it was not very dynamic or intelligent, right? From there, we moved to a chatbot, the example Vic showed, like where you just ask a question and get a response, but it was, again, not taking any actions for the user. And that's where we see a major shift today from using these agentic AI architectures from a single agent to multi-agent. And the last box is that example we talked about, how the HR agent, the IT agent, the training agent can work together, keeping human in loop. In this case, human would be your end user and the human supervisor, and complete the tasks. And tasks could be as complex as onboarding 5 employees by Monday, right? Because there are a lot of consideration goes in those activities. So we can get into more details how this happened, but just because of interest of the time, I'm just moving ahead. And this is like an sort of quick comparison, like what is the difference between AI agents and agentic AI? A lot of time my customers come to me by saying, Jay, we are confused. What is agentic AI and what is AI agent? As you can see, the agentic AI is more of a high-level design pattern, and AI agent a specific implementation within that design pattern or a specific task, right? It can, the goal-wise, it can decompose the agentic AI or recompose goals dynamically. The agents are more focused on the predefined tasks within that goal, right? Examples could be LLM-based system that can orchestrate workflows. Claim processing could be a good example, right? Then AI agent would be a deployed chatbot, a reinforcement learning bot for some kind of a gaming, or could be an autonomous drone, right? Now, if you think about agentic AI, like it's not easy to deploy agentic AI at scale, particularly for large organizations. So based on my interaction with my customer, these are the typical challenges that we see, like technical complexity and integration, like knowledge and data, it is all over the place. It's not easy to get access to those data or the knowledge very quickly. The data quality always matter. Data is still the king, or the context is still the king. The agent needs to have the right data at right point of time, right? Security and risk management, of course, who get access to what data, make sure that there is no jailbreak attack, or from a responsible AI standpoint, the agent can withstand any kind of security attack, right? The explainability and trust, organizational, cultural readiness, ethical and legal consideration, finally, scalability and cost control more from an infrastructure standpoint. But the most important to me is, I think, where I sort of advise for most of my customers to start thinking about what is the business impact and the ROI. How they can start measuring ROI for these agentic AI use cases, right? I think that is the most important thing we need to define when you are building this agentic AI capability for your customers or your companies, right? Recently, OpenAI actually released a very interesting paper on enterprise AI, and these are some of the typical mitigation strategy that they share. I sort of summarized them and picked some of them from there, and also based on my experiences. It's always best to start, building some prototype and iterate first instead of waiting for a full-baked architecture or full-baked product vision. Try to embed AI in your product or your day-to-day life. Think about how hybrid human AI flows, or I call it human AI partnership. How you can use AI and get in hands of SMEs as soon as possible. So as you build these products, AI-baked products, SMEs can start testing and iterate over it very quickly. Governance, customization, your model, like fine-tuning or distillation of this general purpose model, depending on your use case. And then observability and evals are very important. I think this is something a little different than traditional software engineering, where evals needs to be part of this your architecture pattern from day 0, not from day 10 or day 15. And of course, training and upskilling workforces and set up bold automation goals. Some of the examples, Vix was saying, like he was giving an excellent example of an automation problem that this agentic AI can solve, right? So when you deploy this agent, there are 4 primary considerations that we do see. One, of course, the knowledge, which is basically the data. And the data could be different format, multimodal. Today, just not textual or structured data. It could be your audio, video, image, any kind of data, right? Actions, so give them the tools to complete their tasks. And this is where you will see the protocols like MCP, Model Context Protocol, is getting really popular, so that you don't have to hard code what tools the agent may have access. They can dynamically select, depending on the user tasks or the prompt, which tool they have to access, right? Security, of course, goes without saying. The agent needs to be secure enough. And finally, we talked about the evaluation that sort of goes hands in hand. How do you measure the performances of your agent on a day-to-day basis? That needs to be defined, in my mind, from day zero as you start thinking, building these agents. So this is sort of the overall agentic organization blueprint. Again, this is from the Microsoft standpoint, like how do we think? So we have this agentic AI capability at different level, meaning different level of persona, whether you are a business analyst or a business persona, and sort of at the end of extend more of a developer persona. So if you think about Copilot Chat, Copilot Studio, then we have some predefined Microsoft agent, M365 agent. So there are like researcher agent who can do deep thinking on your behalf if you are, let's say, trying to figure out a complex problem and doing some market research, for an example, right? Then Copilot Studio, we call it UI for the AI, and then which we're going to deep dive a little bit more today, the AI Foundry and Azure capability. The AI Foundry is your end-to-end Gen AI and Agentic AI platform for developers to build these applications, AI applications. And of course, that can be extended into any third-party agent. You can think about, you will have agent in SAP, you will have agent in ServiceNow, you will have agent in virtually any platform provider. All of the platform provider, they are releasing their agentic capabilities. How you can integrate these agentic capabilities almost out of the box, and that's, I think, a key change in enterprise architecture. How this different agentic products going to talk to each other from an integration standpoint. And you can, of course, customize these agents using our tool, Foundry tool. So I'll just skip this because we are running out of time. I wanted to talk about this use case. This is the claim insurance use case. I recently built this for one of my largest insurance customer, where these different agents can take one claim at a time, and exactly a human workflow works, sort of mimicking that. It processes the claims, it verifies the policy details for the submitted claim, and then finally either it reject, approve, or partially approve. In that case, it will request for more information. So this is an example that we are actually running in production for an insurance company. Now, we talked about a lot of use cases and how we should think about agent. So as I mentioned, Azure AI Foundry is your AI app and agent factory where you can design, customize, and manage this agent at cloud scale. So this is what, if I double click on Foundry, it means it has 11,000 models you can access for different type of use cases. It has the Foundry agent service where you can use those model to build agent at scale. It is already integrated with other Azure services like AI Search, which is the vector database offering from Microsoft, Azure AI services like speech, vision, video processing, Azure machine learning, and also access services like Fabric, where you can use that to hook into other data ecosystem where data even not exist in Azure, right? And you can of course use the Azure app services to deploy these agents at scale. This is the little bit details around the Azure AI Foundry agent service, where this is the agent service within Foundry that you can start building agent in a both low code and pro code way. And this has access to around 1,400 knowledge connectors. So you don't have to worry about how do I give knowledge to my agent, depending on, let's say you need data from SAP or ServiceNow, or let's say Confluence. These connectors allow you to connect them seamlessly. We are already building MCP servers on some of the top of some of these connectors that you can use the MCP servers to gain the knowledge access for these agents as well. This is a little bit more details on the semantic kernel. So semantic kernel, I don't know how many of you are familiar. It's the multi-agent orchestrator from Microsoft. It's open source. You can use semantic kernel. You can build this agent as microservice using Azure AI Agent Service and use semantic kernel, sort of the agent runtime, and the multi-agent orchestrator. And finally, this is the overall agentic stack looked from a Microsoft offering standpoint. Azure AI Foundry is the top data and infrastructure. data will be more on the fabric side of thing, and the infrastructure will be, we have partnership with all the major infrastructure provider, NVIDIA, where we can provide and you can run your agentic workloads on top of that. And it's already integrated out of the box with Copilot Studio, Visual Studio for developer experience standpoint, and GitHub Copilot agents as well. And this entire ecosystem is baked by our Trust of the AI, which is basically our responsible AI, data governance, and data or security framework. And talking about data security and data management, this is a high-level view how Azure AI Content Safety, which is our responsible AI framework, Microsoft Purview, which is data security and governance, and Defender, which is for your continuous threat protection, jailbreak attack kind of a protection. You can integrate all of this using Foundry and have this comprehensive security from application security, AI security perspective in one place. Yeah, and this is just a last page on this. If you think about building an AI and agentic solution, again, depending on persona, you can start from the one side of spectrum where it is literally no code, and then you can keep customizing and going up in customization more on the pro code side of it. So there is multiple way you can start building your agent or agentic AI capabilities with Microsoft Stack today. And it is integrated already with Fabric and Purview and Fabric, as we already mentioned. I think that's what we have, and I'm good, feeling good that I'm on time.
Yeah, we're on time.
Yeah.
So thank you, and hopefully gives you kind of a philosophy on how we see agents and how you can utilize agents. So the core story is that we have the solution, we have the technology. Come talk to us if you have any questions. Thank you.